Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 4 of the Weekly Juice podcast. My name is Ryan Bevilacqua. I'm joined alongside here my co-host Cory Jacobson. Today we're going to walk through a sort of an unconventional episode. We're going to chat mindset, positivity, and outlook on life. But I am very, very excited to announce we have our first guest going to be appearing on today's episode. I'll spare you with some of the info for now. We'll have him jump in here in a few minutes. But Cory's going to start us off here with mindset, and then we'll move forward and have our guest jump in. So without further ado, Cor, get us started for today, please.
Cool, yeah. So I think to go off our previous bonus episode that you guys may have just listened to, we wanted to talk about growth, and especially during a time where a lot of people have time to think and kind of prepare the next stages of their lives. I think one of the things that I like to think about often and during this time is that, you know, just the way people compare themselves to other people. I think that it's kind of an innate condition within humans to almost like negatively compare themselves to other people. But part of what our guest is going to talk about, and some of the things that I know for a fact that he does really well, is that he shows this genuine happiness for other people's success without it taking away from any of his own success. That's kind of why we wanted to bring it on, you know, without judging yourself compared to others, because there's no graph out there that you have comparing yourself to other people. And I consistently try to stray away from the comparison, but our guest was one of the first people to repost our podcast on his Instagram story. And without even knowing a lot about what our content was going to be, he just dove in and said, like, I'm happy for these guys that are starting this. And I thought that was so cool for someone that I personally haven't talked to in a while. And I know Rye works with him, but I just thought it was a really good way to talk about, you know, how you compare yourself to other people, and try not to do that, but just really be happy for other people, because we can all win here. I'm going to start it off and then we can introduce him. But some of the things that, to go off a little bit away from the comparison, is just like how we should be thinking about striving for this financial freedom and striving for the next stages in your life. And I like to use the term, like, be the architect of your life, right? So I think a lot of people come out of school, whether that's high school or college or their first couple of years in the workforce, and everyone's trying to quote unquote like make it, right? But has anyone even defined to themselves what making it really is? I think it's important to define what making it is, and what it means to you personally, because I would argue that just the simple accumulation of getting the most money possible will lead people down this like endless path of just bringing money in. And that, in my opinion, there's no point to just bring more money in if after a certain point doesn't lead to like an ounce of more happiness. So if the goal is happiness, that's why we talked about in previous episodes, like being the architect of your life, trying to decide where do you see yourself in the future, and not just like accumulating all this money, because eventually you're going to say, like, what is it all for? So I think that I just had like an opinion to start this out. I think that I'm going to throw in some more opinions as we go through here. But one of the things that you can do is, in order to find out how much money you think you need for happiness, is figure out how much money it costs to live your lifestyle, figure out a way to make that amount of income, and then figure out a way to double that amount of income while still living off of half of it. So that way that you're not struggling day to day and try to figure out, you know, what your passion is. So that was just like upfront thoughts that I feel like I had to start the show.
Sure. I would say it all goes back to the saying, money doesn't buy happiness, right? But it sure buys a lot of freedom and a lot of things that can lead to happiness. So for me, I kind of have an outlook on that too. And I think as long as your goals are aligning with the money coming in and the money going out, I think you'll be happy, and it's all outlook, right? So with that, I would like to introduce our first guest on the Weekly Juice podcast. One of my really, really great friends. He's a glass half full guy, like the Juice Boys ourselves. So we're thoroughly happy to have this guy on board. But his name is Jordan Holbert. I've worked with the guy for a bunch of years now. I consider him more a friend than a colleague. He lives in the local area close to us. has an incredible outlook on life and is getting his life started. He recently purchased a property. One fun fact, he's training for American Ninja Warrior. He's an absolute beast. So I'll let him kind of give a little bit of background, but without further ado, welcome Jordan Holbert. Thank you so much, man. We are jacked to have you here for our first time.
Thanks, Juice Boys. I'm hyped to be here. Looking forward to kicking with you guys for however long this episode takes. Being the first guest on this podcast is lit. Like, couldn't be more hyped about that. Yeah. So first off, thank you. Thank you for your listeners. And I'm excited to get into this. So a little bit about me. Bev, you kind of hit. Bev and Cory, you both kind of hit it. I got a lot of things going on. There's a lot of time right now, and we'll get into this later. But if you have time, you got to use that because you never get that back. So a little bit about me. Bev, you mentioned American Ninja Warrior. You mentioned buying my first property. Happily engaged, so doing all this quarantine stuff. Also trying to plan a wedding. Taking up some new hobbies.
Oh yeah? What are you getting into?
Getting into wine tasting analysis. I like to drink wine, but I want to be able to go to a restaurant and be like, do the little swirly thing, the sniff, and not just do it ironically. I'll actually know what the heck I'm doing. So looking forward to that. Getting back to learning French, hopping on the piano. And we got a puppy, little man Dupree Carter. He's
hey, I'm Dewey.
That's great.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So
American dream, dude.
That's it.
You're working on it.
You know what it is? That's my American dream, though.
That's
your American dream. Someone else's. And I think that's something we definitely got to touch on. When you guys were going through in the intro and you were kind of talking about mindset and basically staying in your own lane and not getting trapped up in what other people are doing, that really struck a chord with me, because what matters to me might not matter to you or anyone else. Whatever it is for me is what I have to go for. And like, you can't really go forward until you know what it is that you want. And you can't want it for anyone else. You can't want it for your parents or a spouse or a girlfriend or a friend. Or the worst thing I think is that when you want something be for the Insta glam or the Insta glare. The thing with that is like everyone that's these social media influencers are not posting, their normal Tuesday afternoon when they're cleaning their house. Everything is like, stockpiled photos of when they were on one trip. So it makes it look like they were on this trip for 10 years or posing against someone else's car that's not even theirs. Like, some of these people are really, really living that lifestyle, and that's great and that's awesome. But there's a lot of other people out there who just aren't showing what they really are doing, trying to skip steps.
It's tough, right? I see that all the time. And, we touched on it briefly in a previous episode, but people get in that trap. They see other people's lives and it starts really wearing on them. They think like they see someone in front of a Lamborghini or a nice car and like, how does this young guy have this car? Dude, it's not his car. Or they see people at the beach and they're on a vacation for a month. It was one vacation and they keep reposting the photos. Like it's so true. And I think you see a lot of people now, everybody's in their own head with all the time we have with this quarantine, right? So people are even more in their head. They're like, my life sucks. How the heck are people still doing these things? And it's just a false set on what is reality, right? So
for sure.
I have a question for Jordan then to kind of go off that. I mean, I think, we're talking about growth and mindset. I think, what are some of the things that you do daily or, just approaching the way that you live so that, I just don't think that people are meant to be on this earth and wake up every single day and be miserable and then grow old and then die. So like, it's a kind of like, what does it come down to? Understanding like what your needs are. For me, it's like, I don't need hundreds of millions of dollars to make me happy, right? So you create a systemic plan through that is tailored to your life, and then that'll allow you to put all your energy into activities that kind of make you like jump out of the bed in the morning, right? So my question is, what are some of the things that you do on a daily basis, being this mindset guy? I think you have a slogan that you use. What are some of those things that allow you to stray away from what Rye was just talking about, like getting into the details of why does this person have a Lamborghini, or why do I care about what someone else is posting on Instagram? Just curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's definitely something I was looking forward to talking to you guys today. So you mentioned mindset, and I have this mentality. It's called the win today mentality. And what that means is the first thing you have to know is that time is your biggest asset, and you should never waste it. Time, even more so than money, is the biggest asset, because you can get money back. You hear all these stories of people who go into real estate or go into a different business. They put all their life savings into it and it crumbles and they fail miserably. But they are able to get that money back. You know, they find a different opportunity. They find a different business. They just learn from that first one and they get the money back. But they'll never, ever, ever get that time back.
Yep.
So if you wake up in the morning and, you know, you stumble downstairs, you order something off Grubhub to get delivered to you while you sit and you watch some trash morning TV, that's a whole morning from 8 to 12 that you just got nothing accomplished.
Right.
And I started thinking this way. It's going to sound crazy. It was when I was like 9 or 10 years old. There was one morning where I slept in at my parents' house as a kid. Like, and I didn't have any big plans. I wasn't going to go conquer the world that day, but I slept in till 12:30, and I woke up and just started crying. And I was literally talking to my dad about it not that long ago, and I was like, do you remember that day? And he was like, yeah, I remember that. And like that was the first time where I realized, like, time is the biggest resource we have. And even at a young age, I was like, I don't want to waste my time. So I'm not always doing something productive. I don't want you to think that 24 hours a day,
yeah, exactly.
You know, I'm sitting here business planning and mapping out my entire future, but I'm making sure that I'm doing something every single day to get myself better and whatever the big goals are that I have, because you can't get to that big end goal that you guys always talk about. Like, what's the lifestyle you want for when you're, you know, we all want to retire early. Well, you FIRE, right?
Yep.
Financially independent, retire early. Like, we all want that, but you can't just, cool, all right, I'm gonna retire. I'm 40 now. I'm done, and not do all the little steps to get there during that process.
And Jordy, we talk about this a lot, and you and I actually walk through step by step how you do this. Can you share with everybody how you set your goals and how you are prepping your life's timeline, I guess?
Yeah, for sure.
Success.
For sure. So I'll start off with when I had no idea what I wanted to do or what I wanted to have for myself in the future. And I look at it like a funnel. So you just take in all this information. You learn about all these different things, all these different topics. You meet all types of different people, and you just learn about everything. Like, you don't say no to anything. So just like spend time saying yes. Hey, a friend calls you up. Hey, do you want to go to this painting class? Another friend calls you up. Do you want to go check out the car show? Another friend hits you up. You want to try out photography? Like, you say yes to everything and just take in as much as you can. And then you can start kind of filtering out. So you start out funnels at the widest point at the top when you're just learning everything. And then you start taking out the things that you know you don't like, you're not interested in. The funnel gets smaller. And as the funnel gets smaller, you start really detailing in on what it is that is right for you and you in particular. And from there, that's when you start to get really detailed. So I think I personally am almost at that point where I know exactly what I want my future to look like. And I'm not going to screenshot that and make sure I hold myself feet to the fire to do that same thing forever. But I am going to have that as like a framework and like just a mental construct for what I'm going to do as far as the rest of my planning. So that's that planning period, and I know what my long-term view is, and you just have to kind of count back. Like, I'm out 20 years, but that 20-year plan is like very up in the air. Not up in the air. It's very nondescript in the sense of like, this is how I'm going to get X amount of money. This is how I'm going to retire at 40. This is how I'm going to own multiple properties. And it's like, this is what I'm going to do. Map out the plan from there. So it's like, all right, it's like when you're driving cross country. You're going from Philadelphia, you want to end up in San Francisco. You can't just, all right, cool, I'm going to get there. You have to know each specific road that you have to take, when you have to make the different turns, and plan everything out. So that's kind of how I look at going from the long-term goal to that shorter-term, more attainable goal. And you just keep breaking it down and down and down from 20 years to 10 years to 5 years to 1 year. And to that point, then you can start breaking it down literally day by day. Like, Baz, I know you've seen it before. Like, you've seen the note that I keep on my phone screen of like the things that I want in my life.
Yeah, we talked about that.
I pick up my phone, I go to check a text message. I know I'm seeing it. So it's just like I'm literally throwing it into my mind over and over and over again.
To clarify, it's your goals. You have your goals as your
background. Yep. So I have my goals on my phone screen, on my background. And I also have them written out. It's down here in my man cave.
The
I'm actually looking at it
whiteboard,
right now. Got my
break that
whiteboard,
whiteboard out.
like a whiteboard, you know, like probably like 1 foot by like 1.5 feet, rectangle whiteboard, and I have different categories. So I have like my financial goals, my real estate goals, professional goals, family goals, travel goals, fitness, and like my relationship goals. I have all of those detailed out, and I literally have things with dates. I have dates on everything. So you make it as specific as you can, and you put a time frame on it. And that's really how you. At least that's what works for me, and that's how I do my thing. I don't know if you guys have anything a little bit different, or for
Well,
the listeners too. Like, just take what you want from that and roll with it.
I think if you don't mind me jumping in here, I think like first of all, I literally love that perspective that you just brought, because it's so. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is kind of the way that I'm summarizing some of the things that you've said. It's like you have to know a roundabout of where you want to end up, because if you're just working hard to work hard, you might be working directionless. Does that make is that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
So going off that, like, I don't know. I know I won't end up exactly in the position where I intended it, or else life would just be super boring. Like if you knew it, right? But the vision for where you're trying to go, like, sets the playing field to be able to work backwards and set up short-term goals. And guess what? We might end up elsewhere along that path. But is that similar to what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean that's honestly spot on to what I'm talking about. And I love the way you said it. You said it for Cory. Like,
right,
I said it
exactly.
for me and what works for me, but you said it for Cory, and Ryan can say it for himself, and whoever's listening can say it for themselves. But like, use the constructs and make them your own.
It's awesome, man. That's really good stuff. I know we have some specific questions for you. Is there something else that you wanted to ask Jordan, or go ahead.
Yeah, I did actually, because, okay, I think for everyone, right, we talk motivation, we talk positivity, and we're like, okay, we got this, we got our goals planned, but think about what happens along the road. Is like, life hits you. It's going to smack you in the face at some point, and pretty much every day you're going to get something. Like, contact will be made. You are going to have someone try to interfere with your goals and take over your time. You talk about time as the most valued asset, and should be in anyone's life, right? It's something you can't get back. And I think of all the times, like, I try to plan out my daily calendar. And as much as I have something on there one day, I got a random meeting thrown in here. I got a random thing. Oh, someone hits me up. We got to hop on a call. Oh, your mom wants to talk. Just random things. And not all of them are bad. But for you, Jordy, how do you stay on track? I know that you said you have your phone checking your goals out. You have your whiteboard. But how does your motivation, I would say, I kind of want to dive into that. Like, what motivates you every day to continue to push through the factors that come and try to interrupt, where you want to go?
I think the biggest thing as far as like the factor for the motivation is just always remembering that the most important person on the planet is future you. All right.
Cool.
So when you're making the sacrifices, when you have to make sacrifices for right now, it's going to pay off in the future. It's just like with investing financially. You're going to take this money, you can't spend it, you can't go buy that new car, you can't have the expensive car that you want now, but by doing that, you're setting yourself up for the future. So future you, number one, is always going to be number one. All right. And then the other things, like when someone else is trying to take your time or use your time for them, like, there's some things where you have to just have control and discipline. So there's some things that are non-negotiables for me, like exercise, spending time with my family, like spending time with my fiance. Like, those are things that I will protect at all costs. And a piece of that is communication. So like, I've recently started my real estate license coursework, and I had to protect my time. I even had to protect it from my fiance. I had to like literally go down in the man cave, sit at my laptop. She was upstairs, like, wanting to hang out, and me looking out for future me is also looking out for future her and like the future us. So this real estate course is going to put me in a position where I can take care of that down the road. But I started doing the work now. So I had to protect my time, but you can't just protect your time and not communicate that to the people that matter, because then you look like you're just being selfish and, separating from your family or your friends or your loved ones or whatever. So I think it's the control, the discipline, and the communication is how you stay focused on that road to the future you.
So I think when people start planning, their goals and their future selves, right? Like, where they want to be, the first step is figuring out your why, right? We talk about that all the time. For you, you might have already touched on it a little bit, but what's your why in life, and what gets you out of bed every morning?
So a lot of it starts off with that future me, but I want future me to be dope because I want my kids and like I want to leave my kids in wealthy in two different ways. I want them to be financially wealthy, and even to me, more importantly, I want them to be mentally wealthy, where they have the opportunity to gain different experiences, go see different parts of the world, and know how to create for themselves. Like it's super cliche, but teach a man to fish, like he can feed himself for life. And I want that for my kids so they can pass it to their kids and their kids and their kids forever and ever into perpetuity. And like that to me is what success is for me, is what do I teach people and what do I physically and financially leave behind.
Awesome.
That's incredible.
That's yours, right? Like that's very similar legacy wise to like what you talk about with your why.
I think he probably explained it a little bit better than this knucklehead could have. Appreciate that. But for me, like growing up, it was two buckets, right? You had book smart and street smart, and I was book smart. I put in the work and I could figure it out in school, but street smart is a totally different beast. And I think Cory and I were trying to walk through this and explain the college versus not college, but going to college for me kind of taught me more street smarts than book smarts in a way. You go through so many different experiences. I grew up in a rural beach town, and then I got thrown into the big city of brotherly love, and I had to get some thick skin pretty quick. You go through, and it just teaches you, right? I'm totally a different person than I was back then, and my goals, values, and things change. But I've always had the end goal in sight, right? Like I want to be financially free, want to take care of my kids, want to leave a lasting legacy and my name to be known. And I just think that over time, if you keep your eyes on the prize, no matter what, you're gonna change, right? But your goals stay the same in some form or fashion. So a little bit off topic there, but I just kind of wanted to explain the street smart thing there. But for you, we talked about fiance, you have real estate, you have but I think a lot of people are super interested, and this might be an aside, but can you dive into the win today and then the Ninja Warrior? I think that's super cool. Just more fun topic to cover.
Yeah, so I've actually been trying to get on Ninja Warrior for 3 years now. The first year that I was trying out, I was shooting my video, and I don't know, you've probably seen the warp wall before. That's like one of the most iconic obstacles on the show.
It's like a half pipe or quarter pipe?
Yeah, you got to run up a 14.5-foot wall, grab the top, and like hoist yourself up on top of that. Once you get it, it's really not that hard. I was doing this trick where you run halfway up, kick off, and do a backflip. And that was going to be part of my audition video.
Sound like a Power Ranger, man.
Yes, basically like a real-life Power Ranger. Broke my foot doing that. Following year, I broke my thumb. This year, everything got kind of messed up with COVID-19 and pretty much canceled the show for this year. So, but the reason I got into it, like I've always been super competitive. Did a bunch of sports in high school. Football and wrestling were my two main ones, but I did track and lacrosse just to stay busy and hang out with my friends. And then I got to college, and I played rugby at Temple. And that was a ton of fun. It's a psychotic sport. You have to be a little bit off your rocker to play. And I am. So I had a lot of fun with that. But I got into having issues with concussions. So I had 5 concussions through football and rugby and had to shut it down. And for probably 2, 3, 4 years, probably closer to 4 years, I was just like struggling. Like I was going to the gym, I was training, but I didn't have a why for why I was training. And it came back to that. I didn't have the motivation. Like I was going to the gym because I wanted to look good. So there's some vanity at play. But I also like, it was built into my life where I feel worse when I'm not exercising and not being active. I actually feel terrible. So those two things were still there. But the why for like how to get specific in my training wasn't. So I started finding Ninja Warrior and found some gyms I was going to and started focusing my training around that. So that's kind of where and how I got into Ninja Warrior. So done a couple of competitions, just haven't been on the show yet.
That's awesome.
I have a question for Jordan Rye.
Oh, go ahead, jump in.
Yeah, so I think like some of those side things that you're doing like support your overall like aligns with your overall goals, right? Like just
Sure.
basically like who is Jordan and what does Jordan want to accomplish? So I want to go back a little bit to talk about getting your real estate license and what is like the why behind that, and how does that align with the future goals that you are your future goals or the goals that you already had?
Yeah, for sure. So it kind of comes back to the win today mentality to start, which a lot of things in my life do. What can I do right now to get better and get closer to the goals I have in the future?
Yeah.
So I want to be able to not retire. I want to be able to have the freedom to work how I want to work and work in my own business, because every single day you go to a 9-to-5 job, you're working when someone else, you're trading your time for money. Whereas when you own your own business, you're using your money to give yourself more time. Okay. Yep. So instead of spending at minimum 40 hours on a full-time job every single week, you can kind of structure yourself. Cory, you've talked about it on the pod before, like 10 hours, you can manage, 8 properties, and you have the rest of your week.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So the reason that I'm right now doing the real estate license is so that, one, I can, know how the business works. 2, I can actually start doing some of that on the side. Like I can start bringing in commission from selling houses and having my buyers buy houses, which is great. The biggest piece though for me is like, I'm planning on being in the Philadelphia market for a while. The Philadelphia market, like most markets, are appreciating. So there's going to be more competition to get in. And with that increased competition, you're going to need some type of in. And my in is going to be using real estate as an agent to build connections, to get my name out to buyers and sellers, to get to know different lenders, to get to know other agents, to get to know property managers, to get to know contractors. And like, if you're going to be in real estate, you have to have those people around. You have to have those connections. You have to know who's good at their job, who's bad at their job, and you have to know who's great at their job. So that's my why for the real estate thing right now.
Cool. So you're putting your vision sort of for the future out into the universe and then scaling back and taking action steps in order to get you there, right?
Yeah. And for sure, one thing I want to add to it is no matter what your thing is for the future, tell people about it. Speak that into fruition, like make it be a thing. If Rye didn't know what I wanted to do in the future and I didn't know what Rye wanted to do in the future and we're as close as we say we are, like that's a fail. If your close circle doesn't know what you want to do, that's step one. You have to make sure your circle knows. But once you start taking action, like tell people, because it's going to do 2 things. It's going to make you more driven. It's going to be an external factor to push you towards getting your stuff done. And it's going to open up doors that might not otherwise be there. So the more people that know that you want to be on Ninja Warrior or be in real estate, that's the more people that can look out for you, because like there's good people out there. Someone could have an opportunity like, oh, you know who'd be perfect for this? Jordan would be perfect for this because he's doing this, that, and the third. He's already told me about it, and I see him doing the things every day to get better at his craft. So I don't have to teach him. I don't have to worry about him being motivated. I know he's motivated. I know he's interested in this. Let's go get this money together.
So what you're saying is you want people to associate your name with the things that you love to do so that they inevitably, when they think about you, they think about how can I help Jordan get to that goal, because other people around me in my network that might not be in Jordan's network may be able to help him. Is that
exactly? Yeah. And it's symbiotic too. Like I want to be able to help people out too. Yep. So the more people that tell me what they're looking at doing, and like when you guys were talking about putting the podcast, I was like, yo, this is dope. Like this is what I did when I put mine up. This is how we got ours started. It's really not that hard.
Yeah.
This is what's the bare minimum that you need, and you can do whatever you want off that.
Yep.
I think it goes back to closed mouths don't get fed, right?
For sure.
That saying, it's just literally, you can be in your own head about something, be like, I've always wanted to do this. I'm a little afraid, blah, blah, blah. Just get it out there. Once you get comfortable with your goals and comfortable with yourself, and you get over that first fear and share it with people. Like when I think real estate, I'm going to think Jordan and Cory. When people hear it here, it's just going to spread. So I don't know. I totally agree with that. And also you touched on your podcast as well. Just wanted to dive into that. If you wanted to give a nice little plug here for Secure the Bag, walk us through kind of the inception of it.
Yeah, so check this out. This is a podcast that me and my best friend from grad school, we started this up. I was literally sitting on my couch one day. I was like, man, I want to do so. I have all these ideas. I have all these things that I like talking to Will about. And like when we talk about it in front of other people, they get into the conversation. They're really into the content that we're talking about. And I was like, yo, like I'm just gonna sit down and write up one episode of a podcast. And we've ripped through. We just put out our 25th or 26th episode.
Awesome.
So we were going for a while. We were going every single week. Will got an awesome opportunity to move out to Cali. So East Coast versus West Coast, as far as the time frame, kind of threw us off. So moving across the country is a big, like, it takes some time, takes some adjustments. So we did have to put the pod on the back burner for a hot minute, but we're back now. And the way the show worked before is a little bit different than how we're going to be running it now. So we were doing usually about an hour-long episode, maybe an hour 20 sometimes, where we would pick a topic and then relate that to a hip-hop song. So our first 24 or 25 episodes, that's going to be the format that you'll hear and listen to. We have some really cool songs, some great content. We did a 3-part series to start the whole thing off with 444 by Jay-Z.
Jay-Z's, yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing album. The song we use on it is great. We had to break it into 3 parts, but everything else is just one song per episode, topic related. Break it down, we talk about some current events, and then kind of keep it moving forward. We're pivoting now because we kind of feel like we tapped in to the hip hop thing as much as we could. And now we're going to kind of shift this and just focus more on what we're doing. So what we're doing in our personal lives and our professional lives, the baby steps that we're taking. And one of the taglines that we always say is, we don't have all the answers, but we're here to figure them out with you. And no matter what's in yours, we're here to help you secure your bag. Cool. So, and then secure the bag, for those who don't really get the concept, it's just like a hip hop term to you. It can mean whatever it is for you. It comes back to what I said earlier, where like my goals are different than your goals and different than your goals. But whatever's in your bag, we're going to give you we're basically going to give you the roadmap as we figure it out together.
Cool. That
sounds like we're aligned on some similar topics here.
For sure.
Sorry, Cory, I jumped ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, it's all right. I mean, similar to what it's not the same thing by any means, but it is has some similarities to what we're doing here. To keep on the track here, I'm curious as to, I have some questions about you, and to keep on the direction of mindset. What advice would you give to your younger self? And again, we're all in our late 20s too, so there's not that much to go back on right now, but you can always get started on things earlier in life. And I think some of our audience is maybe in their late teens or early 20s. So I'm just curious what advice you'd give to your younger self.
Oh, for sure. So I wish that I had started getting financially responsible earlier.
Huge.
And that's not even just to have like a higher number in my bank account. That is simply just to have more options. Because when you look at money the way that I'm looking at money, and the way that a lot of successful people look at money, and I'm sure you two do the same way now, is you look at money as not just currency to buy things. You look at money as currency to buy your time. So you have the freedom and the opportunity to do what you want. So if I would have started thinking that way when I was 18, or even when I was honestly like 14, I got my first job when I was 14 years old, just going around mowing lawns, and I was making bread. Like I could get up on a Saturday and go make $200 to $400 in a couple hours, doing literally almost nothing. I was just mowing lawns.
Yeah.
Mowing lawns and like landscaping. And it didn't cost me anything. I used my dad's lawnmower. I had to pay $3 to get a gallon of gas for every 3 lawns I did. And like, it was chilling. But I was going out and buying, those dumb shirts you would get from Express, the graphic tees, like $30. I would always buy them a size too small, and I would go blow an entire. Like,
I'm a medium guy too, baby.
Exactly. But like, I don't have any of those shirts now. If I would have been taking that money and putting it towards literally anything that was going to appreciate, as opposed to clothes and like going on dates with girls I don't even talk to, it would have been great.
It's so funny, man, because I can't tell you how many people that I talk to that might be in their 40s, 50s, and 60s that look at younger people and are like, oh man, I wish I had that advice when I was younger, right? So part of the thing that we want to provide to people is like that advice, because podcasts didn't exist in the 70s and the 80s and even in the 90s. So it's like, we want to provide that advice to people to say, you had it. Like, you had that advice. I hope you take it. I hope you run with it, because it it's exactly what I would tell my younger self this too. I probably in the last 4 years, I really started to think about money and real estate investing the way that I do now. And now I realize that I can create this passive income plan, reach financial freedom, and then put all my energy and time into activities that make my heart beat faster every day, as opposed to being woken up by an alarm clock that pisses me off, right?
And the other thing, the other piece of advice I want to give to my younger self is to appreciate the moments as they're happening more. Because like there's a lot of things I go back and I don't really remember. Like I don't remember my high school graduation. I don't even remember really my college graduation. Like those are two things up to those points in my life that were like the biggest monuments that I had reached. And
that's hard to do, man, but you're so right. You're so right. It's
jumping in on both of those, Jordy, insane. The first thing I would say is I'll keep it with where you're at now on moments and living in the moment. I'm such a future look ahead guy, trying to like save and like, oh, where am I going to be?
What's next?
And then a couple things, like one, I look back, I save all my photos. I have like 20,000 photos in my library here on my phone, which is insane. But you go back and you're like, holy crap, I don't even remember doing that. Or like, at least I have the memory now. But I got an amazing piece of advice headed into the wedding. This is coming up for you and at some point here soon. But they said, this is going to be, everyone says it's the best day of your life, right? You have your family, your best friends, your fourth cousin with your uncle, and like everybody's in the same room. And you're with your future wife, your wife. Take a step back and just absorb the room for 5 minutes. And that was single-handedly the best thing I did. You know, Court and I got together and we just sat back and we watched everybody interacting, and your whole world's surrounding you. And they're all interacting, having a blast, but they're celebrating you. And I think if I didn't get that advice, that day would have gone, I was nervous, right? Like I was excited. All these emotions are in your head, and add a little drinking, everything goes fast. You know what I mean? Think about it. Like it makes the day fly. So had I not got that advice in the beginning, I think I would have had a different experience, because I did that like 5 times. I was like, okay, dance for it, sit back. I'll be a little goofy when I go up and exchange the vows. I got to show some personality. Like I don't, whatever. Like it's all people that love me and I love them. So for me, I just think that's the best advice I could give for someone that's getting married. But like also, if you're going on a trip, if you're doing something monumental, and maybe even if it's a little moment, you might not realize it. Just try to live in the moment a little bit more, because I'd trade all my money in the bank account just for that day again, just to have that time and experience again. So I appreciate you bringing that up. You just brought back some good memories for me. But
speaking
of memories, your wedding was a great one.
Y'all were there. It was lit.
That balance, right, Ryan? Hey, Ryan, who brought you a plate of food on your? Do you remember that? That was.
I have to say. I do have to say there. And that's another memory I will never forget. That I don't remember eating. Everybody's like, you won't eat your whole wedding day, and like we had a bunch of food we tested, and we're like, we gotta get everybody hype. We gotta get some good stuff. All of a sudden, I'm taking pictures. It was right after I took a picture with you, Jordy, I believe, and our crew. And then I'm going to the next group of friends, and I get a tap on the shoulder. Corey's like, dude, have you eaten yet? And I'm like, didn't even think about it. He goes, I got you. Stay here. Brings me over a plate of sushi with some other things on top and a nice cold Bud Light. I'm like,
what a homie. That's homie status.
I will literally never forget it. It's one of the things, one of my 5 minutes that I sat back. I'm like, I took pictures with all my friends. I remember exactly who I took pictures with. And I remember specifically Cory walking up to me and handed me that. And it was awesome. It was our little friend moment at the wedding too. But he was looking out for me on my big day and had my back. And it just means
that was the best wedding that I've ever been to. And I don't even want to go to any more weddings, because I'm getting pissed off thinking about how they're going to try to compare them to yours. I swear to God. But anyway,
Well, I appreciate you guys, all of you. And then one real quick, back to your first thing. And you were talking about when you were younger, what advice you would give to yourself. And I think this goes back to some of our demographic here, Corey. You mentioned maybe like late teens, early 20s. They're not going to teach you in school financial literacy or education on your money unless you go seek it out yourself. Unless you're taking a finance course or economics and things like that, you need to book those as your classes. And also, the thing that's going to set you apart from other people, and I think what sets us apart to have these conversations is self-education, right? When you're done with school and you have your job, you're just going through the motion. Time's flying. You have to literally sit down and say, hey, I'm going to make a conscious effort that I need to get better in real estate. I need to get better in budgeting. I need to get better in learning how the stock market works, everything. But it's on your time. You're not getting that on someone else's time. So I just wanted to make that a point there for a lot of younger people. I would give that advice to myself. Read about money and how
the options are out there. The resources are out there. Like there's podcasts. There's this podcast that we're doing. There's a podcast, Secure the Bag, that me and Will do. There's podcasts from people that are literal millionaires giving away their game, how they got themselves to where they are for free. You have an iPhone. You have an Android. You have a smartphone. You have a laptop. You have the resources to you. Use them. A lot of free stuff out there. Like I went and spent, 6 figures between undergrad and grad school. And you know how many personal finance classes I had, including my master's in business? One. And it wasn't even a course. No. It was a workshop. A 3-hour workshop was the one personal finance course, quote unquote, that happened. And wasn't even like anything crazy. It was like, hey, put your money in your 401k. Here's the difference between a Roth IRA and an IRA. Like, didn't get into stocks or how to manage them or anything like that. It was all super simple stuff. That's it.
What I will say about that, and then, there's certain people out there, and again, we are not preaching. Like I'm just trying to tell you and other people listening, like my experience. A lot of people say, I'm just not into money. Like I don't understand it. And like, I think what's important for people to realize is that you don't have to be this like money nerd, but if you don't understand the single asset that makes the world go around, it just makes you really hard to do things you love. So, because you're just struggling to try to put food on the table. So I think, going off that,
if someone said that to me, I'd be like, do you like to eat? Do you like to drive? Do you like to travel? Do you like to do it? You need money. You don't have to like it, but you need to know how it works.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. Exactly. I think, Jordan, this is awesome. Some of the advice that you're giving our listeners is like really invaluable, especially somebody else our age, just giving a different perspective of somebody in their late 20s that like, we're all trying to make it, right? How can we help each other make it? I think another question I have for you is, what makes you most happy in this world? I think that's important because our podcast specifically is about happiness and time and creating that for yourself. I'm curious, what makes you happy, and what do you think there are things that you're doing on a day-to-day, month-to-month, maybe yearly basis that is allowing you to get back to spending your time doing those things?
One thing that definitely makes me super happy, I don't know if it's like the one thing, is just seeing people that I care about succeed. Like it genuinely gets me hyped.
That's noble.
Like I know you mentioned before, like I was like super quick to hype you guys up when I saw that you were doing the podcast, because it's something that you both are going to be great at. It's something that, you're putting out content that I care about and that other people will care about. And I just like to see that. Like I have aspirations to I used to be a fitness coach. Like I used to be a certified personal trainer. I helped start up a gym that was, very successful and still is. And like I ran that at one point, and I loved to see people come in and be like, hey, this is what I want to work on. And this is what my hopes and my goals and my dreams are for this. And then literally coming up with a game plan of how to set those goals for them and coming up with a plan of attack. So anytime I can help other people do it, it's great.
That is that is so awesome. It's funny. It's similar to me because I coach high school basketball.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you the feeling that I get when I watch somebody come in potentially with no Division I offers and they leave going to a Big Ten or SEC school, or they make it to the league. It's like, and you know what? I'm only like a small part of their path, but I'm so okay with that. Like, I don't want the credit as much as I just want them to remember, like, damn, these people are on my team. Like, they're on my side. And I've never had a feeling like watching a kid succeed. So it's similar to what you're saying. It's like, we talk about getting your endorphins boosted like that. I think you and I see see those things similarly. Like it's magic, man.
Dude, we just found our perfect hybrid is Jordan, Cory, and Ryan put together for a total absolute Ninja Warrior beast. I think we found our guy, dude. If you guys want the best of both worlds, please just hit up Jordan Holbert. Thank you very much.
That's a big honor, dude.
Hey, we love you, man. I will say, for me, I kind of put my head down and just keep grinding, right? And like, at some point you look yourself in the mirror and you're like, shit, dude, like I kind of feel selfish. Like you talked about giving back, and I'm like, I hear Cory out with, teaching his basketball team, and like the feeling he gets when someone else succeeds. And you can attribute this is how I view it, is you ever on Christmas or a big holiday when you're all excited waking up as a kid to get gifts. And then you realize at some point it hits you when you're more jacked to give someone the gift because you want the reaction, and you just see them being so happy. That I finally started getting that feeling, working towards management within work and the 9 to 5. We'll talk about Dan a little bit here. He's just like a young kid right out of college, and I just saw something in him, and I was like, I just want to take this kid under my wing. I see myself in him, and it just advice that I would give to my younger self, I just pumped to him. And seeing him succeed in certain levels, both professionally and personally, it gets me jacked. And I don't even mean to. You're not trying to pick favorites or anything like that. I just like love the dude. And I'm like, dude, you're succeeding, and like I'm kind of helping you, but you're helping yourself. And it's just there's so many emotions and feelings in that, but it just makes you feel like Christmas morning when you give your brother the best gift ever, and you're jacked for the rest of the day. And you're like, like I made an impact, and it feels good. So,
dude, it's so true. When people grow old, maybe in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and they talk about what ends up being most important to them, there are so many people that want to help the younger generation out once they realize that they made all this money or they did the things that they want to do. And it's like, what's left besides to help other people get there? So again, we're not experts, but we're just trying to help the people that are not age-wise behind us or around us, but just like experience-wise in the same range. And it's like, It's the most fulfilling thing ever. So let's just keep it rocking. I think, Jordan, we could just have a couple more questions for you, man. Like,
let's rip it.
I want to dig into like some of the unconventional questions that might, provoke some thought here. I think we have probably time for a couple more, but one is, what keeps you up at night? And it's like a question that I would maybe have trouble answering myself, but I'm curious if there's anything that keeps you up at night.
Damn, that's come with the heavy hitters, bro.
We're not talking about the boogeyman under your bed either, Jordy.
Or maybe we are. I don't know. Like,
what keeps me up at night is probably just like,
or maybe nothing. Maybe your mind's clear. Like, I don't know. That could be an answer too.
No. So I really do focus on like being aware of my feelings and like dealing with them, but I wasn't always that way. And it wasn't even keeping me, like there were things that weren't keeping me up, but I would say like getting to the point where as a man, and especially like, I know you guys can't relate to this, but as like a black man, one thing that really used to keep me up is just like the societal pressure to just be like this strong black dude.
Yeah.
And like never letting emotion show, and by never letting them show, like I didn't know how to deal with them. And then like,
that is so
situations
powerful.
Just manifest. Yeah, like situations start to manifest in like really negative ways. And I was like, damn, I don't like the person that I'm looking at right now. And I've never felt that way. But I was like, all right, what am I gonna do? And figured it out. With myself and like the people around me. I was like, hey, like, all right, cool, like we're back on track. We're good, and you're doing the right things. Because it looked like everything was going in the right direction. But when I actually took a step back and was aware of how I was feeling and what I was refusing to deal with, I was like, damn, like this is actually a problem. And once I dealt with the problem, I got back on track and was going like 5 times faster than I was before.
So that is the perspective that I think that we're looking for, because Ryan and I do not have anywhere near all the answers. And to hear you say something like that, I think is just, it's profound, and it really helps people that are in your shoes, maybe other black men, to think about like the way that they view themselves. And like, dude, that's awesome. So I appreciate you sharing that with us.
No doubt.
Yeah, I think maybe just some other questions here. What do you think are some of the unique skills that helped you be successful or are currently helping you be successful?
I think part of it is just like my upbringing. Like my parents always taught me like respect people around you and like be kind to people. But if someone wrongs you, stop that shit in its tracks. Like you respect others and you demand respect. So I think that's one thing that I will like always thank my parents for and always like be grateful for it. And like I don't even have to think about those things, because it was something that was just like ingrained in me from the start. Another one is just like constant work ethic. Like don't blame someone for what you don't have, no matter what level it's coming from, whether it's like a systemic thing or it's just like an individual thing, whatever is in your way, figure out a way around it. And then I think the last one is just like, I really enjoy people. Like there are some people that I don't want to mess with, like, and I take those people and that type of person out of my life. But when I find my people that I care about and relate to me, and like, I know I want to help them get to where they're going, and they're also be willing to help me going where I'm going. Like once you're in my circle, bro, you're not getting out. So you guys are stuck.
I can definitely attest to that. Jordan, you push and push in all the right ways though. And I think that's awesome. I would say for just being your friend for a while now, I've noticed like three things about you that I admire. And I think they kind of go to Cory's question, and maybe if you don't see them for yourself, but the first one is just your kindness and your compassionate. Like I think you put other people first a lot of the time, and you're always willing, like how can you personally help them in any way that you can. I'd say two is you're an Energizer bunny. Like you just keep going and going and going. And like I had not even had this conversation with you earlier. I honestly just thought you had this inkling in you earlier in life you just had FOMO. And you wanted to do everything, and the fear of missing out, but then you brought it back to the yes man thing in the funnel and talking about how you just want to try everything so you know what you like and know what you don't. I think that's just noble. And I'm like, I would never thought of that about you, and I think a lot of people might not either. Just they're like, oh, Jordan's getting into this, getting into that, but the guy just doesn't sleep. So that's cool. And then the last one, which I think is just, it's going to help you in so many different areas of life, and it already has, but your genuine curiosity about life and different things, right? You are always asking questions and digging deeper, and how can you get involved? And I think just your genuine curiosity is going to take you leaps and bounds above other people. But I think it would jump to me for my next question. In right now, knowing how curious you are about life and things of that nature, what is one thing you are genuinely curious about right now? And how do you see that kind of playing a role in your future?
It's weird that you said right now, because right now a lot of people are just hyper focused on, coronavirus, when things are going to come back, and like when we can go outside and when we can be with our friends and family again, and just like go back to whatever the new normal is going to be. But I think that there's enough podcasts, there's enough news, there's enough like social media talking about that. So I think what I'm going to go with, as far as like what I'm super curious about outside of the current world and global situation, is just trying to figure out like how to motivate more people. Like when I'm looking around and seeing people, even now with most people working from home, most people working abbreviated days, and like, just having more time, I want to motivate as many people to find out what they care about and what their purpose is. And like, we talked about it a lot on our podcast. We have a whole episode on a Japanese term called akagi, and it's basically a Venn diagram for 4 different circles coming together perfectly for your purpose. And what those circles are, the first one is, what am I good at? Okay. Second one is, what does the world need? The third one is, what makes me money? And fourth is, what do I love? So when you find the intersection of those 4 things, you found your purpose. And just like, I want everyone to find their purpose. You guys alluded to it earlier. Like if you go through life every day where you just wake up, okay, I'm going to eat a meal, I'm going to sit down, watch TV, and then you look up and it's, time to go back to bed, and that's your life on repeat. That sounds miserable to me. So right. Like, I don't think that's not how humans are meant to live. And that's not, like, there's no purpose in that. So finding your why and like just going after it with 100%. I don't know if this answers the question, but like, that's what I'm most curious about, is like how some people find that and like drive for it and like continually chase it like psychos. And then how some people just don't.
Yeah. Jordan, I think that's a really good point. And also to go off of that, and also not, I hate to use the word judge, but not like judge yourself for whatever your passion is, right? If it's not going to bring you millions of dollars, it's okay. Like,
Oh,
it's
for sure.
okay, because guess what? You're going to end up chasing the money and chasing the millions, and then waking up one day and be like, why didn't I just try to cook? Like, that's what I really wanted to do. And like, I'm afraid to talk to, I don't want to use the term older people, but I'm afraid to talk to the generation above us and ask them, like, did you do what you really wanted to do? Like, because it's a scary, like, regret's a scary thought. So I think that finding your purpose is an awesome thing to be curious about right now, for sure. Rye, do you think we have a couple more questions for Jordan, or do you want to wrap this up?
I think that last piece kind of tied in the whole episode, and I think that I was going to ask for one piece of advice, but I think explaining motivation and finding the intersection of all those buckets is absolutely perfect. So I think that wraps us for this week.
Yeah, I think also to Jordan, if you want to reach out to Jordan, he mentioned earlier that he'd be happy to talk to people. I think he's a great resource for us. I know that I haven't talked to Jordan in a while, but there's absolutely no reason why I won't be connecting with him more often now, like after we chatted here. So, Jordan, I think we need your Instagram handle. Ryan, do you have it?
Yeah. So,
sorry, Jordan can give it to us.
Yeah. All right, Jordy. So I'm sure there's a bunch of people that got pumped up hearing you talk and give you advice, and just would love to connect with you outside of our nice little podcast here. So if you could just give us a way to have people reach out to you and connect with you, and maybe even the link for your podcast as well.
No doubt. So I'll start off with the podcast. You can get it, the podcast. You can get us on Stitcher, Apple, SoundCloud, Spotify, pretty much wherever you get your podcast from. Name of the show is Secure the Bag Podcast. Look for Will and Jordan on wherever you're getting your podcast from. If you want to email the podcast, it is secureyourbagpodcast@gmail.com. Again, it's secureyourbagpodcast@gmail.com. You can email us. You can get at us on social. Our Instagram is, my Instagram personal one is Jordan_Swolbert, SWOLEBERT. So play on my last name, Holbert, Jordan_Swolbert. And our podcast name on Instagram is STB for the boys. STB Podcast on Instagram. So get at us there. What else? What else is there? Is there any other way to get me? We got a Facebook page on for Secure the Bag, so check that out.
You a LinkedIn guy?
I'm on LinkedIn. Get at me on LinkedIn, Jordan Holbert.
MySpace, you up there? MySpace, yeah.
I wish, dude. I tried to get my MySpace a while ago.
You got a Zanga, bro?
Could you imagine how cringy that would be right now?
I don't even want to look back.
I have one last takeaway I wanted to share quick.
Yeah.
And this is, again, like most things for me are about financial wealth and for mental wealth and, like, you know, just furthering your skills. A lot of people talk about financially, sometimes saying like, oh, I'm saving for a rainy day. But yo, it rains every damn day. Like, make sure that you're setting yourself up for everything. Like, you don't want to just sit and wait and hope that you have everything you need in case something goes wrong. There's things that you can be working on so that when that tragic day does come, you're set up. Like, don't just sit in a savings account. Like, all right, so I'm going to use finances first and I'm going to relate it to mental. So don't just sit in a savings account earning the minimum interest possible and going up $100 a year on way more money that's sitting in your account. Find other ways to make that money grow so that when that rainy day comes, you can stay dry. And then the other side, the mental side, like, use this time, because hopefully, I pray, and I'm not even a prayer person, but like, I pray that we never have a situation like this ever again, where we have this much time, where we're just stuck in our houses, stuck in our heads. Make the most of it. Don't look back on this. You know, we're already at a whole month since I've been at work. It's been 6 weeks already. Don't look back at this time and be like, oh man, I wasted 8, 9, 10, 12 weeks. Can you imagine wasting 3 months of this and not coming out with a new skill? So it rains every day is my last takeaway.
Cool.
It is raining outside right now, so this man is not wrong, people. It's raining somewhere, but it's also sunny somewhere else. And it's also 5 o'clock somewhere.
I was gonna say, yeah.
So you party people out there, that will wrap us up here with episode number 4 of Weekly Juice Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Personally, this has been my favorite episode. I'm sure everybody else is going to be just as jacked as I am. So, Jordy, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thank you.
Really
this is a blast. Ever need a podcast guest back, let me know.
Yep.
Love it.
Check back with you.
Love
Awesome.
it. I can't wait to listen.
Thanks for coming on.
Keep it up, guys.
Thank you.
Later.